The dinosaurs. The prehistoric giants that ruled the Earth millions of years ago, capturing the imaginations of children and adults alike for centuries. While they've been immortalized in films, TV shows, and even museums, let's not pretend everything was hunky-dory in the world of the dinosaurs. As epic as they were, dinosaurs had their fair share of WTF moments. So buckle up, because we're about to dive into everything that makes these ancient beasts hilariously flawed. The confusing names. Who came up with these? Let's start with the basics. Their names. Why do dinosaur names sound like someone just randomly slapped their keyboard and called it a day? Sure, we all know that they're based on Greek or Latin roots, but let's be honest, those names are more likely to twist your tongue than strike fear into your heart. Couldn't we have gone with something more straightforward? Even Tyrannosaurus Rex gets a bit tedious after the 10th time you try to spell it out. If these creatures were so epic, you'd think the naming committee would have put a little more pizzazz into their titles. I mean, what's cooler, Triceratops or calling it Three-Horned Destroyer? The T-Rex's pathetic arms. What's the deal with that? Cool. The Tyrannosaurus Rex, king of the dinosaurs, ruler of the prehistoric jungle. The mere mention of its name strikes fear into the hearts of other dinos. And then you look at those arms and hands. Those tiny Donald Trump-like appendages that seem more appropriate for scratching its nose than for dominating its enemies. For a creature that's supposed to be the apex predator, the T-Rex's arms look like a cruel joke from Mother Nature. Did they ever use them for anything? It's like someone designing an unstoppable beast but ran out of material and said, "Yeah, that's good enough." And let's not even get into the memes. T-Rex trying to make the bed? T-Rex trying to play the piano? Yeah, not exactly the stuff of nightmares. So much for being the king of the lizards. Poor thing. The Megalodon, the oversized drama queen of the ocean. Our worst nightmare, the Meg. That gigantic shark that Hollywood loves to pretend is lurking just below the surface, ready to ruin your beach vacation. But let's cut the hype for a second. Yes, this prehistoric fishy was big, like school bus with teeth big. But was it really the ocean's ultimate terror, or just nature's oversized drama queen? The Megalodon was a huge monstrosity, but that also meant it had to eat. A lot. I'm talking whale-sized snacks on the regular. And guess what? When those whale buffets ran out, the Megalodon couldn't exactly hit up a salad bar. It went extinct. Not with a roar, but more like a grumbling stomach. So yeah, the Megalodon was enormous, but being big isn't always better. Turns out the king of the ocean got outplayed by smaller, faster, and smarter sharks. Hollywood can keep pretending it's out there, but the reality? Well, Megalodon's been gone for millions of years. So sorry guys, no giant shark lurking in the deep, just a prehistoric has been. The Velociraptor, Hollywood lied to us. Thanks to Jurassic Park, velociraptors have cemented their place in pop culture as the ultimate dinosaur assassin squad. These sleek, cunning creatures are portrayed as man-sized killing machines, with intelligence on par with some of the smartest animals today. But here's the reality check. The real velociraptor was about the size of a turkey. Yes, a freaking turkey. Hollywood may have taken a few liberties in making them fearsome predators, but in truth, you'd probably be more likely to roast a real velociraptor for Thanksgiving dinner than run screaming from it. And let's not forget the feathers. Modern paleontology has revealed that many dinosaurs, including velociraptors, likely had feathers. Can you imagine the Jurassic Park velociraptors hunting down their prey looking like oversized chickens? Kinda ruins the whole fearsome predator vibe, don't you think? The Spinosaurus, a shark with legs. For a while, the Spinosaurus was the dinosaur, even beating out the T-Rex in the cool factor when Jurassic Park 3 came out. But what exactly was going on with this guy? Spinosaurus looks like someone couldn't decide whether they were designing a land predator or a fish, and just went with both. With its giant sail-like back and long crocodile-like snout, Spinosaurus seems more comfortable in the water than chasing prey on land. In fact, some scientists think Spinosaurus may have been a semi-aquatic predator, hunting fish rather than other dinosaurs. Now, imagine that. The biggest land predator in dinosaur history, and it might have spent most of its time fishing. What a letdown. The sauropods, nature's oversized lawnmowers. Let's talk about the sauropods, the giants of the dinosaur world, with necks so long they could probably see next week. These guys were walking skyscrapers, munching on treetops and living their best herbivore life. But honestly, when you break it down, sauropods were basically giant cows with neck extensions. Sure, they were impressive in size, but what did they actually do all day besides eating? Imagine being a diplodocus, just wandering around all day, vacuuming up leaves like a prehistoric Roomba. Not exactly the most glamorous life. And let's not forget the logistics of that neck. How did blood even get all the way up there to the brain? Some scientists believe sauropods had special adaptations to pump blood to their heads. But even then, you've gotta wonder, was all that effort really worth it just to snack on some higher leaves? The Brachiosaurus, a prehistoric giraffe on steroids. Speaking of long necks, let's give a shout out to Brachiosaurus, the dinosaur that always looks like it's trying to find better Wi-Fi reception. With legs like a skyscraper and a neck that never ends, it basically walked around like the giraffe's buff cousin. But while it looks like a regal giant, Brachiosaurus was pretty much a dinosaur-sized creature, always reaching for the highest leaves when everything it needed was right there on the ground. Plus, with all that height, imagine the awkwardness of trying to bend down for a drink of water. You're not as cool as you think, Brachiosaurus. You're just overcompensating. The Ankylosaurus, the walking tank. The Ankylosaurus was basically the medieval knight of the dinosaur world. A walking tank with a heavily armored body and a clubbed tail that could take down a predator with one well-aimed swing. But here's the thing. Ankylosaurus was all about defense. This guy was built to take a beating, but wasn't exactly built for speed or agility. In a fight, Ankylosaurus would be the one standing still, hoping the predator would just get bored and leave. Don't get me wrong, the club tail is cool and all, but that's like having a bazooka you can only use once. If a T-Rex was fast enough to dodge that one swing, the Ankylosaurus was toast. It's like someone took the idea of a fortress on legs a little too literally and forgot to add in the part where it could actually, fight back effectively. Pterosaurs, the dinosaurs that weren't dinosaurs. Pterosaurs, the flying reptiles that ruled the skies during the age of the dinosaurs, are often mistakenly called flying dinosaurs. But plot twist, they're not actually dinosaurs. These guys are part of a separate group of reptiles called Pterosauria. So while they're often lumped in with their dinosaur cousins, they're really just the weird uncles at the family reunion. Related, but not quite the same. And honestly, some of them were downright terrifying. Take Quetzalcoatlus, for example. This thing had a wingspan the size of a small plane and could probably carry off small animals. But despite their impressive flying skills, they weren't exactly the most graceful creatures on the ground. Imagine a giant bird trying to waddle around while also balancing its massive wings. Not exactly majestic. Stegosaurus, not so smart. Stegosaurus is another fan favorite, thanks to its distinctive spiked tail and plates running down its back. But for a dinosaur this big, you'd think it would have a bigger brain, right? Nope. The Stegosaurus had one of the smallest brains for its body size. About the size of a walnut. Yeah, a walnut. So basically, you've got this 2-ton behemoth walking around with the intelligence of a squirrel. Maybe that's why it needed those spikes, because it sure wasn't outsmarting any predators. Scientists have long debated what those backplates were even for. Were they for defense? Did they help regulate body temperature? Or were they just for show, like some sort of prehistoric bling? We may never know for sure, but one thing's clear. If you were trying to have an intellectual conversation with a stegosaurus, you'd be out of luck. The Carnotaurus, T-Rex, but goofier. Meet Carnotaurus. Imagine someone looked at T-Rex and thought, let's make this guy look even weirder. And boom, Carnotaurus was born. It had tiny arms like Donald Trump. Like T-Rex. Because apparently that's a trend in dino fashion. But with added horns on its head for that extra dash of ridiculousness. These horns were probably just for show though, because nothing says fearsome predator like wearing a pair of antlers that wouldn't even scare off a deer. Carnotaurus looked like T-Rex's goofy cousin who tried a little too hard at Halloween and showed up in a dino costume. The Therizinosaurus. Now let's talk about Therizinosaurus, also known as Edward Scissorhands Dinosaur Edition. This bizarre dino had claws over 3 feet long. Sounds terrifying, right? Except it was a vegetarian. Yeah, this Freddy Krueger of the dinosaur world didn't use those claws to slice through prey. Nope, it just used them to lazily strip leaves off trees. Imagine running from what you think is a killer only to find out it's just trying to prune its garden. Therizinosaurus looked like it was built to be in a horror movie, but instead, it was more like a really intense landscaper. The Diplodocus, the original neck problem sufferer. Diplodocus, another long-necked dino that seems impressive until you realize its daily life was one long chiropractor appointment waiting to happen. This guy had a neck so long, it's a wonder it didn't tip over. Sure, it could reach those high-up leaves, but at what cost? Keeping that neck upright all day must have been exhausting. Plus, some scientists think that the Diplodocus's neck was so heavy that it couldn't even lift it all the way up. It's a little bit like my... Oh, no. Let's not go there. Anyways, while we imagine it gracefully snacking on treetops, it was probably stuck grazing closer to the ground, like a prehistoric giraffe with a stiff neck. If it wasn't in constant pain, it was probably just confused about what to do with all that neck. The dinosaur-human misconception. Seriously, people? Despite decades of scientific education and countless documentaries, there are still people out there who believe that humans and dinosaurs coexisted. Let's set the record straight. Dinosaurs went extinct about 65 million years before humans ever appeared on the scene. So no, Fred Flintstone didn't ride a dinosaur to work, and there were no caveman versus T-Rex battles happening in the ancient past. Yet the misconception persists, probably because of shows like The Flintstones or movies that blend dinosaurs and humans for dramatic effect. But just imagine if humans and dinosaurs had coexisted. We'd probably be extinct within a week. Can you picture early humans trying to hunt a stegosaurus with a stick? Not exactly a fair fight. Oops, wrong bones. Let's take a moment to appreciate the early paleontologists who, despite their best efforts, sometimes got it hilariously wrong. When dinosaur fossils were first being discovered, scientists weren't always sure which bones went where. One famous example is the iguanodon. Early reconstructions showed it standing upright like a kangaroo with a horn on its nose that was actually supposed to be its thumb spike. Oops. And then there's the case of Brontosaurus, one of the most beloved dinosaurs, which turned out to be a mistaken identity. For decades, scientists thought they had discovered a new species, but it was later revealed that Brontosaurus was just an incorrect assembly of Apatosaurus bones. Oops again. The dinosaur theme park fantasy. Let's talk about Jurassic Park, the movie that made us all secretly wish dinosaurs could be brought back to life. But here's the thing. Even if we could somehow clone dinosaurs, it would probably be a terrible idea. We're talking about creatures that lived millions of years ago in a completely different environment. Introducing them to the modern world would be like throwing a polar bear into the Sahara Desert. It just wouldn't work. Plus, you know, the whole dinosaurs running rampant and eating people thing. As much as we'd like to think we could control a theme park full of giant carnivores, Jurassic Park showed us exactly how that would end. Not pretty. The extinction event? Death by rock? Now we get to the grand finale of the dinosaur story, their extinction. After ruling the Earth for 165 million years, the dinosaurs were wiped out in what was essentially the worst day ever. Scientists believe a massive asteroid impact caused a chain reaction of events that led to their demise. It's like the dinosaurs went from the top of the food chain to being utterly annihilated by a giant rock from space. Kind of anticlimactic, right? You'd think after surviving for so long, they'd have some sort of contingency plan. But nope, one bad day and it was game over for the dinosaurs. Talk about the ultimate WTF moment in history. Could they have done something differently? Could they have built underground bunkers or learned to fly spaceships? We'll never know, but it's a pretty bleak way for the reign of the dinosaurs to end. And there you have it, folks. Dinosaurs. Majestic, terrifying, and at times, hilariously flawed. Whether it's their weird anatomy, bizarre behavior, or their sudden extinction, dinosaurs continue to capture our imaginations and remind us that even the most epic creatures have their off days. So next time you're in a museum or watching a dinosaur movie, just remember, these prehistoric giants weren't perfect, but that's what makes them so fascinating. Do you want to see that the dinosaurs are brought back to life? Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching, guys, and don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video.